So I want to give a bit of an update here on my NIX 91. As you may remember, a couple of weeks ago, I posted a running video where I ran this on an outdoor track, and it was great. I had a lot of fun with it. It drives pretty nice for, for an outdoor track that's kind of bumpy. It's sort of what this car was designed for, and it was a lot of fun. Then I think a couple weeks later, I decided to try it out on an indoor track, which was generally higher traction and a smoother track. And I found that the car does tend to push, especially on corner exit. And part of the problem is the car is so light, and you're running modern electronics and modern batteries. Especially the batteries are much lighter than what was used in 1991 when this car was a real car, a real prototype. And the other issue that comes to mind is that the actual 3D printed parts themselves are probably lighter than the original handmade parts that were used on the 91 Stealth car. So if you're going to run this on an indoor track, you may have problems with too much rear traction, not enough front traction, especially on corner exit, but it's still fun to drive. And I managed to get a setup that kind of works. Basically, I had to go to a much stiffer rear spring. I think I'm using an Associated Blue rear spring. Let me just check that. Yes, Associated Blue in the rear. I have Losi Orange up front. And I went to 6 down travel limiters in the front shocks to try to drop the front or reduce front droop as the car accelerates on corner exit. That does help a little bit. But even still, it's lacking on high grip tracks or medium to high grip tracks. Anyway, I only got to drive this car a few times because, as you can probably see, the right rear wheel is missing. So what happened here was I decided to try and triple a jump that with a stock motor you normally take as a double single, and I can clear that triple with my B5 and with a 17.5 motor, and I did manage to clear it once or twice with this car, but I was just getting a little too brave, and the car landed sideways, and just by landing sideways, the rear arm snapped into a bunch of little pieces. So that's presumably no big deal. I mean, it is expensive. A pair of rear arms printed will cost $22 from Shapeways, and I think that's a problem, especially considering the poor material quality. But this was known. I mean, I commented on this before, and several people have spent quite a lot of money buying spare arms for their NIX 91. But if you consider that older RC10s or even modern RC10s spare arms are maybe $5 or $10 a pair at most, this is certainly overpriced for what you get. The quality is low and the cost is high. And as time goes on and 3D printing technology matures, I would expect the materials quality to get better. But this is just a consequence of, it's something you have to deal with now if you want to really use your NIX 91 as a runner. Okay, fine. So I ordered a new pair of rear arms so I can replace this and get it back on the track. And as I was threading a mounting hole for the rear shock on the new arm, I noticed that I threaded just a little bit too far, and then the arm started to crack. So basically that arm was useless. So then I went to the other arm, because it comes as a pair, but it's not really a pair because the right arm is designed to be a little bit smaller in the rear to accommodate the motor mount, and the left arm has a little thicker lip in the rear since it doesn't have to accommodate the motor mount. So I went to the left arm that I have, and I tried to just trim down the rear part to basically mimic the right arm, and then that arm snapped. So I spent $22 on a brand new set of arms, and they snapped before I even got to use them in any remote way. So where is it? This one here, right? So I tried to trim this one down with just a razor blade, and the amount of pressure I was putting on the arm snapped the arm like here somewhere. And then to snap the rest of this, literally I just grabbed the arm with 2 hands and I just gave it a light amount of bending pressure, relatively light pressure, and it snapped like a twig. And the same thing for this arm. It snapped here, okay? So this is concerning. This is basically a colossal waste of $22 for a pair of arms that I never even got to mount. So if you're going to run this, if you're going to mount the arms, be extremely careful about even preparing the parts, drilling the holes, pre-tapping the screw holes to mount the shocks, etc. These arms are quite fragile. They're more fragile than Tamiya, old crappy Tamiya plastic, which is, a problem. Now, to be fair, this is really the fault of Shapeways in New York. Their 3D printing quality is known to be inferior to the other Shapeways products coming out of Sweden, and apparently that problem has not been solved yet. And I personally don't care to keep blowing my money away while waiting for them to solve their parts quality problems. So what I'm probably going to do, maybe I'll order another set of arms, fix this, mount it, and I'll probably shelf this. It's just really not worth the money to keep running it. And it's a shame because I only got to run this a few times. It was a lot of fun. But I just can't justify the cost of running it, especially considering how I have all these other cars that I run. You guys see my videos, plenty of vintage cars. There's really no reason for me to run this. It's pointless. But if you do have one, just be very wary of that. Even just preparing the parts for mounting, you can snap them, and that's very unfortunate. So I guess that's kind of a tragic end for this one, and I'll take the electronics out of this, maybe put them in something else. But I really don't see a need to keep running it. It's a waste of money. And again, this is not a demerit to the guy who designed this chassis. He did an excellent job. It's really just a problem with the parts quality coming out of the 3D printing foundry. And hopefully one day when they get better, I'll, try to run this one again. But until then, that's it for this one. Anyway, on a somewhat somber note, thanks for watching.